Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. I think I'm good. This is like my, fifth time maybe doing this? So I believe I'm recording. If anyone wants to comment and say, yeah, you can actually hear me, you can. If not, I'll just keep talking. Today I'm going to be modeling some of the background environment assets for the narrative scene in Terraria. I'll always say Terraria. Anyway, and this isn't exactly something that I have a lot of practice in. I'm more of a character modeler. I know a lot of people that like environment art way more than I do and spend a lot more time on it. But that's what I'm doing today, so I will try to share my thoughts on how I would go about doing something like this. So, in Blender right now, I have most of the scene done. I'm going to try to get as much as I can done during this stream because I am trying to get this done for Friday, I think. Possibly Wednesday. We'll see. Which is tomorrow. I don't think I have to have it done by tomorrow, but I'd like to get it done by tomorrow. So I'm going to try to get some more models in here. Basically, I don't have any textures on any of this yet. I'm going to be putting that in Unity and setting it up in Unity, so I won't be showing any of the texture work that I would usually be doing. It's just going to be the models. And then the other thing is that the camera setup is going to have to try to approximate this. I might just import the camera itself into Unity as well and then see if it gets the depth of field right and the position. If it gets that right, then I'm golden, otherwise I'll just have to mimic it in Unity. But anyway, that's, I think, the basics of what I'm doing today. Yeah, like I say, it's just going to be a bunch of modeling assets and a whole bunch of greeble, which I'm sure you already know what that is. If you have watched some of my streams, I haven't brought that term up, but basically means all the little details that you find in spaceships. And my friend Matt told me that, so if you're watching this, Matt, which you might be, but if you are, thanks for that definition. Anyway, back to this. This is basically what I would consider greeble. Little details that bits and bobs may or may not do anything, but they look cool, so anyway. Yeah, let's see. I think I don't have the sketch with me that I'm actually going off of. I actually sketched it myself. Me and Amanda came up with a redesigned sketch because this actually looked quite different originally. It was a lot less round and a lot more angular. You can actually see that the floor is very square, and that's just because I used that originally for the first iteration of this, and then we wanted to go with more circular design, a little bit rounder and a little more high-tech and less blocky, so that's why the floor is square, but the rest of it is all circular. Yeah, anyway. I'm going to start by modeling the teapot. Like I say, I have the reference image in my head, and I don't have it to show you guys, unfortunately, but there is a teapot, or teacup, sorry, that's supposed to be in here. So I'm just going to start by making a circle. And that's actually flat, so it's good. And then I'm going to name it before I forget. Oh wait. Narrative scene, NS, teacup. I sort of regret wearing a sweater into this room. It's quite hot in here. Probably also just because I am wearing a sweater in the middle of summer, but that's my own fault. Teacup. Was colder this morning when I got up. Okay. So, let's see. I don't think I need that many vertices. If you're going to be looking at it really close up, I would put this many vertices in the circle, but I'm thinking I don't need that many. Especially if I scale it down, you'll notice that that looks very smooth. But if I zoom out far enough, that it doesn't matter how many vertices I have in there, whether it's 64 or 32, it's going to look approximately the same. So I'm going to delete some of them. Might actually just straight up delete half of them, not in the way that you'd expect, possibly. And I'm just gonna mirror it so that I only have to work on one side at a time. In theory, I should have just told it when it was making the circle not to put so many vertices in it, but well, live and learn. Basically what I'm doing right now is just merging the vertices because I don't need that many. Yeah, I think that's better. If you zoom out, still looks like a circle. The player's not gonna see that it's got, you know, 32 faces around instead of 64. Especially if you shade it smooth, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm gonna start by making the saucer part, I think. Something like that maybe, and then I'll scale it in. Might give it a slight raise in the middle. Something like that. And you'll notice that it's all flat. You can see all the faces, and I don't want that, so I'm going to shade it smooth. Yeah, I think that looks good. So I'd like to give this a little bit of depth, just because it doesn't really make all that much sense that a saucer would be basically the depth of paper. I do actually have paper in the scene that is literally just a face, because paper is pretty flat. It's very close to being two-dimensional. Obviously it does have some depth in the real world, but in 3D we can kind of fake it, at least for this game. Alright, so this is no longer, you can see where the origin is, and the bottom of the saucer is no longer on the origin, so I'm actually going to move it up a little bit so that it sits nicely like that. Okay. So the other thing that I would like to make, I'm trying to figure out if I want it to be its own object or if I want it to be within this object. I think I want it to be within this object, is the actual teacup. So I'm going to make another circle, and this time instead of putting 32 vertices, I'm going to just divide that in half, 16. Yeah, that looks good. Change the radius. This is what I should have done the first time, but oh well. I did not. I still, for some reason, keep mixing up my Y and Z direction. I think just because I've been using Unity and going back and forth between Unity and Blender so much, I keep hitting Y to go up when in Blender it's Z, and then vice versa. There really is no set axes for that. Like Unity does it Y up, Unreal does it Z up, Blender does it Z up, Maya does it Y up. Like, people just picked it. It depends on if you think that when you're 3D modeling, if you take like a flat piece of paper and you want to give it depth, some people think that this is the depth, is by, if it's sitting in front of you, you pull it towards you. Whereas other people think of the piece of paper being this way, and then they want depth, so they push it backwards. It just depends on how you view that. It makes sense to me to have it flat and then have depth go up and down. I'm not entirely sure. I guess maybe it's because I started with Blender and that's how Blender does it, that makes sense to me. I don't know. There are a few people I know that would very angrily tell me that that is incorrect. Because they like it going this way. And that's okay. So I'm gonna start this because it's a new circle, Blender doesn't know which way I want the normals, so I'm going to flip the normals and tell them to face outwards. You can see with Blender it shows the normals being flipped one way or another by the way it shades it, and this is true for every single program. That's how it determines which side is facing out and which side is facing in. That's what the normal does. And so the dark side is where the normal is facing inwards in Blender, and then anything that's kind of shaded how you would expect it to be shaded is facing outwards. Sometimes you'll get things where you'll accidentally have one face that's actually facing the wrong way. Let's see if I can do that. Flip the normal. Huh. Wow. There you go. I was gonna say usually it makes more of a fuss about that, but that's because it was shaded smooth. So this is what happens when you've got all the faces facing one direction, and then suddenly one of the faces is facing inwards, and it does not look good usually, or ever actually, because it'll cause what you'd consider graphical errors. I can actually show where the normals are by clicking that button, turning that down a little bit. So you can see where all the blue lines are. That's the direction the normal is facing out of, and it makes everything look very fuzzy if you've got lots of faces.